Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments, and I am bringing you another Patriotic layout today using our US of Yay paper pack. And this is a design that was released on the Creative Memories blog, created by Noreen Smith, who is a favorite of a lot of ours. Super fun, and she now works for home office, and she designed this layout and I just love it. So I'm going to show you my version of it and help guide you through it. It's super fun and should be fairly easy, so let's get right to it and let's check out what's in my workspace. Alright, so here's my desktop for this particular project. And one thing I just want to explain to you before we get into this is, so when Noreen created this, she created a one-page layout. Today, I have a real hard time just doing one page for things like this. But if you wanted to make a one-page layout, you would just limit yourself to one page, and you would only need these three mats and things like that. So I'll try to talk to you about that as we're cutting out pieces, but keep in mind this for me is going to be a double page layout, and I'll show you how I'm going to modify this into a double page. Okay, so right now you can see on my desktop that I have I have two of the designer pages. These are the stars and stripes. The back side of this is a lighter blue with kind of a wave of, I don't know, it's a tone-on-tone of wave, of a blue wave. And so we're going to use two sheets of that. We're going to gut these and make a frame for the outside. We're going to use two pieces of navy cardstock that are going to go on the inside and replace this red piece right here. And then I have two more pieces of paper. I have a piece of white cardstock that we're going to use for mats, and I have this piece of red designer paper with a diagonal line through it. It's again a tone-on-tone. This has flags on the back. Okay, so we are going to use probably all of this, hopefully not more paper than this, but this is going to be a layout that's going to require a bit of doing, so hang in there with me. Okay, we are going to make a frame. If you've never made a frame before, here, let me just clear off a couple things here. We're also going to use these laser borders in this layout, which are really fun, and we're designed to go with the US of Yay papers, so those are going to be really fun. At any rate, I'm going to just move a couple of these out of the way for a minute, and we are going to grab my trimmer, come back in here. All right, so these two pieces are going to be our frames for both of our bases, okay? And we are going to just make these into 1.5 inch frames, or actually let's just do a 1 inch frame. We're going to do a 1 inch frame. And if you've never done a frame using our CM trimmer, let me just explain a couple of very quick basic things. The blade housing here is 2 inches long from top to bottom, but you can see this white line in the middle here that marks the center. That's where your blade touches, and so we are going to utilize the fact that we know that it's 1 inch from either end to where the blade stops, and that's going to help us to know where we are cutting. Okay, you can use clips to mark your trimmer so that you don't cut too far. So one way of doing that is, if we want a 1 inch frame, we put our clip at the 0 marker. Right here, there is a ruler on the side of the arm that our blade housing sets on. So when we scoot it this direction, it's not going to cut further than 1 inch if we go ahead and set our clip there. Now you can also do this visually and not worry about it, but just in case you need a little bit of assistance, this will give you a little bit of assistance. So these are just regular alligator clips, and I am putting them right at the edges of my paper. The reason I'm doing that is because I know I want my blade to stop 1 inch in from the edge of my paper. And then I'm putting the right side of my paper at the 1 inch mark over here. So then I just cut and turn my paper either clockwise or counterclockwise, whatever you're familiar with or whatever makes you happy. And I just cut and keep rotating until I have cut the square out of the center of my paper. Now you can, as I was saying before, you can do this without the clips and just visually be really careful and make sure you're starting your cut at 1 inch and stopping it at 1 inch. Whatever is going to be easiest for you. Okay, so we've got one frame here. We're going to do a second frame, which is part of the reason why I was doing this, or using the clips this time, because typically I will just eyeball it, but because I was cutting 2 of these, it just makes it so much easier, and I don't have to think about it if I just set up the clips. So one more here and I should be done. Yeah. All right. There is just a teeny bit in each corner to release. Come on, there we go. All right. So now I have my 2 frames. I'm going to grab my navy cardstock. I'm going to take my clips off because I'm done with those. Alright, so for the navy cardstock needs to be an 11-inch square. Right now it's a 12-inch square, so I'm going to take 1 inch off of one side, and then I'm going to turn it and take another inch off the other side to make it 11 inches. Alright, there we go. And that allows us just a little bit around the edge for adhesive. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on this one. So 1 inch off the side, turn it once, 1 more inch off the side for 11 inches. All right, now the next thing we need to do is we need to make a stacked square that's going to become our triangles right here. And my stacked square is going to be going to use the red mini stripe, and we're going to make a 6-inch square. So I'm going to cut this down halfway, and I'm going to cut it again, turn it horizontally and cut it again at 6 inches. All right. Then I'm going to take my star paper that I cut out of the center of our initial frame, and I'm going to take a piece of this that's going to be 5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it at 5 inches. Turn this and cut it again at 5 inches. Then I'm going to use, I beg your pardon. I'm going to use the red paper again, but I'm going to flip it over and use the star side, and we're going to have a 4-inch square of the flags. Did I say the star side? Goodness sake. The flag side. All right. So that's going to go right on there. Okay. And now before we get rid of our trimmer, we are going to go ahead and just cut some mats real quick. And I'm just going to cut, I'm going to make 2 cuts that are 4.5 inches. So 4.5 and 4.5. And then I'm going to stack these, turn them, and I want to cut this at 6.5 inches. And then cut these again at 4.5 inches to make a square. All right, and then this piece is roughly 3 inches. Let's see, I'm going to just do a really quick trim on that because it's just off just a tiny little bit. Okay, so this is 3 inches, so we could do some 3x3s, or we could do some 3x5 inch photos, or slightly smaller than that. Let me hold off with that one until we decide what we're going to do, okay? Don't put your trimmer too far away. The first thing we're going to do is grab our adhesive. We're going to grab our adhesive and we're going to go ahead and adhere our squares together, okay? So we're going to place these in the center of each other and adhere them down. All right, and I am just adding just a tiny bit of extra adhesive where I know there's going to be, where I know I'm going to be cutting, so that it doesn't fall apart when I cut it in half. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to just, there we go, like so. And if I did it right, it'll stay taped together. Otherwise, I may need to adhere it a little bit better. And I'm just doing a diagonal cut, corner to corner, to make my 2 triangles. Okay, so we stacked them, and then I placed this, I placed a little bit of adhesive on each of these vertically in the center, just so that it would stay stuck together, and tried to pay attention as I was sticking them together as to where that vertical adhesive was. Okay, I think we're done with our trimmer now, so I'm going to go ahead and put that back away and move these things just to the side here for a second while we go ahead and adhere our navy bases. So I'm going to just be really careful and put my adhesive right on the edge of the cardstock, the navy cardstock. Okay, be really careful and don't put it anywhere but right along the edge. And then you're going to go ahead and center this on here, like so. Alright, so we're going to do that twice. So there's one page, and we're going to do that again for our other side. Okay, so remember, keep your adhesive right along the edge as you go around. Here's our other frame. And we're just going to center this again carefully. If you're using the same paper that I am, you should have just a little sliver of white showing on each of the vertical edges in order to have that centered. Alright, so that's what it looks like on the other side. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is go ahead and adhere our triangles. And we're going to use our repositionable adhesive. And I'm just going to, I use repositionable adhesive whenever I do a triangle so that I can make sure and get the very tip of those angles. And we're going to take the first one and we're going to start it in the upper left hand corner and run it down the vertical edge of the left side of the layout, like so. Alright, then we're going to take the other side of our triangle. There. And we're going to go ahead and put this one down the lower right hand side of our layout. So the right hand, or the right hand page, and the lower right hand corner. Alright, so basically we've just taken this layout and we have widened it. See? Okay. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and grab our laser borders, which have been hanging out over here waiting for their turn, right? Okay, now we can take our laser borders and we can put them, you'll notice that they're different colored. Okay, so there's an example of both sides and what they look like. You can use the side with the silver big star or the side with the darker blue or blackish big star and the little white star in the center. It's hard to tell which one I think looks better, but I think probably this one shows up better as a whole on the colors that we're using. And then this one would go across the bottom here. And they've got it going underneath this. But let me show you what we're going to do, because you'll notice in Noreen's version she actually used a portion of this laser border as her embellishment, or as an additional embellishment for the page. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use our precision cut scissors. We're going to take each one of these borders and we're just going to take a cluster of the stars off the end. and then those will function as embellishments. And see how that brings your border right into the parameters of your base page? All right. Well, that's funny. This one is kind of printed a little bit off. That's okay. We'll trim it up and then fix it. All right, so here's this one, and it even works with our bandana-y square that's up there. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with our banner flags that are down here. Okay, so since they would normally just go ahead and be underneath here, I'm going to cut the last banner flag off of each one of these as well. I've got a striped one there, so I'm going to cut the star one off of this side. All right, and not only that, but I'm going to go ahead and use my foam squares to pop this up off of my page. So I'm just going to put a little foam square on each one of these flags, which actually I'm going to do 2 and then skip 1 because there's really no need to put them on every single one. And we've got enough that we can do 2 flags in a row and then skip 1. And that'll be perfect. Okay, and I think we're going to pop up the stars up here too, but we'll see how that works out when we get that far. All right. So I'm just putting this up so that the edge of the banner hits the bottom of the navy portion of our cardstock. We're going to save these pieces for embellishments within the photos. Let's go ahead and add add our foam squares to this one. Oops, I skipped the wrong one. Well, that's okay. No big deal. All right. Hope you have some great plans for the 4th of July. Given that we had such a wet winter, I'm excited because that's one thing Utah definitely does well, are fireworks. They do personal fireworks, they do city fireworks. So I think the first year that we were here for the 4th of July, we literally walked out our front door and stood in our driveway, and we could see, I think, about 10 different fireworks shows going on across the community. It was really cool and very amazing. Of course, I grew up in Southern California where fireworks are not legal for you to have. Some people had them anyway. They would go across the border and come home with them. But They were not a legal thing for you to have. So we would sit up on our back hill and make homemade ice cream and sit up there and enjoy the fireworks presentation that the city would put on at the local municipal airport, which was fun. All right, so we're popping the stars up as well, and I just basically went every other star, but it was not the correct number, so one of the ends has more, which is okay. What are your favorite 4th of July traditions? We used to, my dad's family was from Kansas, and his grandmother, my great-grandmother, lived there in her home all by herself until she was in her early 90s. And we would drive back to Kansas to be there for her birthday, which I don't really remember exactly what day that was, but somehow we were always there over the 4th of July holiday. And fireworks are legal in the area where she lived, and we would have a good time with the fireworks because they were such a novelty since we didn't have them in our area growing up. All right, so we've got that. Now let's play around with where to put our mats, because we can, keep in mind, we can put pictures on here without mats, so we don't need a mat for every photo, but it is sometimes nice to go ahead and have mats for as many as we possibly can, right? Okay, so what if we do like that? And then what if we had enough room to put just another small photo, maybe a 4.5 by 3, or we could do one going that way. Maybe we would need to move this down here. I was just trying to think, why is that not working quite the same way? All right, let me grab my trimmer and we will just trim up some of this cardstock and make another mat. I'm going to go with 5 inches and see how that works in that space. So it would be a 2.5 by 4.5 inch photo. I like that. I think that looks nice right in there. What do you think? Does that work? I think that looks good. All right, and then I'm going to just trim these banners up just a little bit because I cut them off right next to the flag instead of allowing a little bit of the connecting banner to show. We could adhere those together just a little bit, like so. And I'm going to put those up there. Let's grab my foam squares one more time, and we'll add those right, just like that. Now I'm going to just adhere my mats again just with my repositionable adhesive. Roughly 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the navy. Okay, and this mat overlaps by about 1/4 of an inch and is roughly an inch from the edge of the navy over here. And then this mat is roughly 1/4 of an inch from either edge here. Which it doesn't align up on this edge, which I don't really like, but I don't really have an option the way that I cut that. So we could make this just slightly longer if we wanted. Okay, so then the same thing up here. We're going to go about 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the stars, about 1/4 of an inch from the center of the navy, so that it stays roughly the same, overlapping about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to move that in so that it's about an inch from the edge over here. And then this one will go an even direction from either side. Okay, so like so. And then we need to trim up these stars just a little bit because of the nature of the way that I trim them apart, they are a little wonky, to say the least. All right, that helped. Okay, and I'm just going to get a foam square to put on the back of each one of these, so that we can pop these up. Careful to make sure that you've got the same side up so they match, and we'll just kind of make these sort of cluster right here in this corner, like so. And I think that works. What do you think? Uh-oh, let me move that out of the way. Move that out of the way. What do you think? I like it. I think it turned out really cute. And I am excited to put my 4th of July barbecue pictures on this layout. I think it's very, very, very cute. If you wanted to, you could put these laser borders at the top and put your stars across the bottom. You know, it's completely up to you how you want to do it. Or you could put one star and a banner on one side and one star and a banner on the other side for your embellishments. Whatever makes you happy there too. But, you know, use your creativity and see what you come up with. But I like it. I think it turned out well. And I'm excited. I hope you found this time valuable spending it with me. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July, and I hope that you have many more creative moments. Thanks so much. Have a great day.